Hi everybody, welcome to Vaishayas. This is Pranay, and we are going to continue the fundamentals of physical geography of class 11th. And before I start the class, I request you to please like the video and comment, and please share it with your friends, and do let us know how you are feeling the classes, how the classes are useful to you, and please reach us on WhatsApp for any courses and test series, and we shall continue. So we had a class previously regarding the chapter number 7, landforms and their evolution, which was the part 1, and we are going to have the part 2 and the final part of this class, of this chapter basically. Okay. So we are going to see the erosional landforms. Thing is, cirque. So cirque are most common of landforms in glaciated mountains. Okay, the cirques quite often are found at the heads of the glacier valleys. Okay, they are in the glaciated mountains and are usually found at the heads of glacial valleys. Okay, the accumulated ice cuts these cirques while moving down the mountain tops. So ice cuts basically the ice which has been accumulated cuts these cirques, okay, while moving down the mountain tops. They are deep, long and wide troughs or basins with very steep concave to vertically dropping high walls at its head as well as the sides. A lake of water can be seen quite often within the cirques after the glacial disappears. Such lakes are called as cirque or tarn lakes. Okay, there can be two or more cirques, one leading into another down below in a stepped sequence. So this is a cirque basically. See, because of the steep here, the glacial moves down, and one more fact we were given is the cirque lake basically. Here you can see the lake. Okay, so because of this slope, okay, it gets down and it forms a lake kind of a thing. Okay, and next we will see the horns and the serrated ridges. Horns is basically, as you know, animals have horns. Okay, you just imagine with itself. Okay, horns form through headward erosion of the cirque walls. If three or more radiating glaciers cut headwards until their cirques meet, high, sharp pointed, and steep sided peaks called horns form. They are high, sharp pointed, and steep sided peaks. Okay, you can see the horn here, it's sharp here. Okay, and very steep sided peaks. Okay, the divides between cirque side walls or head walls get narrow because of progressive erosion and turns into serrated or sawtoothed ridges. Serrated or sawtoothed ridges, basically something like this. Okay, referred to as arêtes with very sharp crest and zigzag outline. This is serrated ridges. These are like, if you see this thing from the top view, it will be looking like this. This is called as serrated ridges, and this top is known as arêtes here. Okay, next we will see about the glacial valleys. Glaciated valleys are trough-like and U-shaped with broad floors and relatively smooth and steep sides. Okay, smooth and steep sides. Okay, the valleys may contain littered debris or debris shaped as moraines with swampy appearance. What is moraine? You will see in the coming slides. Okay, there may be lakes gorged out of rocky floor or formed by debris within the valleys. There can be hanging valleys at an elevation on one or above sides of the main glacial valley. The faces of divides or spurs of such hanging valleys opening into main glacial valleys are quite often truncated to give them an appearance like triangular facets. Okay, very deep glacial troughs filled with sea water and making up shorelines in high altitudes are called as fjords. Okay, see here this is a glacial valley basically. Okay, and this is a fjords. When this what do we call that mountain basically is just nearby the seashore, okay, or the coastal line. It is called as fjords. Okay, here very deep glacial troghs filled with seawater and making up shorelines in high latitudes are called as fjords. Okay, here you see this is a horn, this is arete which we read. Okay, and this is a Surg glacier. Okay, and this is a valley glacier. Okay, moraine you will see in the coming slides. Okay, next is depositional landforms. The unassorted cores and fine debris dropped by melting glaciers is called as glacial till. Okay, obviously when as the glacier starts melting, so a lot of fine debris starts moving up and gets settled down, which is known as glacial till. Most of the rock fragments in till are angular to subangular in form. Streams formed by melting ice at the bottom, sides or lower ends of the glaciers. Some amount of rock debris small enough to be carried by such melt water streams is washed down and deposited. Okay, such glaciofluvial deposits are called as outwash deposits. Okay, unlike till deposits, the outwash deposits are roughly stratified and assorted. Okay, the rock fragments in outwash deposits are somewhat rounded at their edges. Okay, so what they are saying is basically this whatever the glacial till is there, because of the movement and all, the fragments become a bit rounded in the edges. Okay, so next comes the moraines. So moraines are basically long ridges of deposits of glacial till. Okay, long ridges of deposits of glacial till. Whatever glacial till in a long ridge kind of a form is called as moraine basically. Terminal moraines are long ridges of debris deposited end of the glacier. Okay, end of the glacier is called as terminal moraine. Lateral moraines form along the sides parallel to glacial valleys. Okay, lateral moraines are basically parallel to glacial valleys. Okay, the lateral moraines may join a terminal moraine forming a horse shaped ridge basically. When lateral moraine combines with the terminal moraine, okay, which is at the end of the glacier, forms a horse shaped ridge basically. There can be many lateral moraines on either side in the glacial valley. Okay, these moraines partly or fully owe their origin to glaciofluvial water pushing up materials to the sides of the glacier. So this is a moraine basically. Okay, see the movement of the glacial till is basically the moraine. Many valley glaciers retreating rapidly leave an irregular sheet of till over the valley floors. Rapidly retreating rapidly means the movement is very fast. Okay, leave an irregular sheet of till over their valley floors. Such deposits varying greatly in thickness and surface topography are called ground moraines. Okay, the moraine in the center of the glacial valley flanked by lateral moraines is called as medial moraine. Okay, which is in the center of glacial valley. Starting one was terminal moraine. Okay, parallel to glacial valley is lateral moraine. Okay, and which basically the till which is leaving because of the rapid movement and forms a irregular sheet is known as ground moraine, and moraine in the center of glacial valley is medial moraine. Okay, they are imperfectly formed as compared to lateral moraines. Sometimes medial moraines are indistinguishable from ground moraines. Okay, you see here, so these are the lateral moraines here. Okay, and this is medial moraine, this is which is in the center basically. Okay, and this is terminal moraine, basically it's at the toe, at the end. Okay, and you see the outwash is here. Okay, which we said that rounding edge of the pebbles and all. Okay, next comes the eskers. When glaciers melt in summer, okay, when the heat is high, the glacier start melting. Okay, at that point of time the water flows on the surface of the ice. or seeps down along the margins or even moves through holes in the ice. Okay, these waters accumulate beneath the glacier, okay, under the glacier, and flow like streams in a channel beneath the ice. Such streams flow over the ground, not in valley cut in the ground, with forming ice forming in its banks basically. Okay, very coarse material like boulders and blocks along with some minor fractions of rock debris carried into this stream settle in the valleys of ice beneath the glacier, and after the ice melts can be found as seen as ridge called as eskers. What happens is basically when the glacier under the glacier the water is moving like this thing carries lot of boulders and debris and all that, which forms a kind of a boundary kind of a thing, basically a ridge kind of a thing, okay, which is called as esker. We will see in this thing. See here, this is an esker basically, okay, because this forms a boundary kind of a thing, a ridge kind of a thing, okay, is called as esker. Okay, next is outwash plains, which you saw in the previous slide at the end of the glacial valley. Okay, the plains at the foot of the glacial mountains or beyond the limits of continental ice sheets are covered with glaciofluvial deposits in the form of broad flat alluvial fans, okay, which may join to form outwash plains of gravel, silt, sand and clay basically, which are small sediments, which are finer sediments. Okay, you see this is a outwash plain. Okay, so this is ground moraine which we read. Okay, and you are going to see the drumlins in the coming slide. This is an esker which you saw. Okay, and this is the retracting glacier which is moving very fastly. Okay, and this is the outwash plain. Okay, drumlins are smooth oval shaped ridge like features, composed mainly of glacial till with some masses of gravel and sand. The long axis of drumlins are parallel to the direction of ice movement. They are smooth and oval shaped, and they are parallel to direction of ice movement. They may carry up to 1 kilometer in length and 30 meters or so in the height basically. So basically it's some sort of a ridge kind of a thing, very smooth, okay, which is usually parallel to the direction of ice movement. Okay, one end of the drumlins face the glacier called the Stas end is blunter and steeper than the other end called the tail. Okay, the drumlins form due to dumping of rock debris beneath heavily loaded ice through fissures in the glacier. The Stas end gets blunted due to pushing by moving ice. Okay, the drumlins give an indication of direction of glacial movement because it is usually parallel in the ice movement basically. So automatically it gives an indication of the direction of glacier movement also, and more or less because the Stas end which we see, for example, this is one end and this is the other end. So this is, for example, the Stas end, which is basically the blunt. Okay, and the other end is called as the tail. Okay, which is very steep. Okay, you will see here. Okay, this thing. Okay, see here, it is blunt kind of a thing, and suddenly here it is steeper. Okay, so you got this is a drumlin basically. Okay, in this image also you can see a drumlin here. See, it is something like this. It is very steep and this is somewhat blunt. Okay, waves and current. Some of the changes along the coasts take place very fast. Okay, at one place there can be erosion in one season and deposition in another. Most of the changes along the coasts are accomplished by waves. When waves break, the water is thrown with great force onto the shores. Okay, and simultaneously there is a great churning of sediments on the sea bottoms because of the waves, because of whatever waves are there. There is a lot of erosion taking place, and which we have read in the previous classes also. Okay, constant impact of breaking waves drastically affect the coasts. Storm waves and tsunami waves can cause far-reaching changes in short period of time because of the speed, because of the intensity, because of the magnitude, and because of the energy they are carrying. Okay, automatically they will break the huge boundaries also. Okay, and they can create that erosion effect much more faster than the regular time scale. As waves environment changes, the intensity of force of breaking waves also changes, obviously. Okay, other than the action of waves, the coastal landforms depends upon configuration of land and sea floor, what kind of material it is, what kind of configuration it is, whether the coast is advancing, which is emerging seaward, or retreating towards the landward. If the coast is moving towards the sea, is called as basically advancing or emerging, or retreating, which is moving towards the land side. Okay, assuming sea level to be constant, two type of coasts are considered. Okay, which explains the concept of evolution of coastal landforms. High rocky coasts, which are submerged coasts, and low, smooth, and gentle sloping sedimentary coasts, which are emerged coasts. Coasts. So we will say about them. High rocky coast. Along the high rocky coast, the rivers appear to be drowned. Okay, with highly irregular coastline. Okay, highly irregular coastline. The coastline appears highly indented with extension of water into the land where glacial valleys are present. Okay, the hillside drop off sharply into the water. Shores do not show any depositional landforms initially. Okay, erosion features dominate. Along high rocky coasts, waves break with great force against the land, shaping the hillsides into cliffs. Basically, because of hitting the mass, automatically the erosion will be much more higher. Okay, and because of the erosion being in that intensity, automatically cliff kind of a thing forms. Okay, with constant pounding by the waves, the cliffs recede, leaving a wave cut platform in front of the sea cliff. Okay, waves gradually minimize the irregularities along the shore. Okay, see, for example, this is hitting, it is more or less submerged inside that water, and this water hits it very badly. Okay, because of the constant attack by the tides and waves and all that. Okay, so that erosion takes place. The materials which fall off because of that erosion, because of that water hitting, automatically the upper layer will start getting off. Okay, and which falls off and removed from the sea cliff, gradually breaks into smaller fragments and roll to roundness, which will be deposited. Okay, so because of that water hitting and and abrasion between different stones and all that material, they get slowly roundness. Okay, after a considerate period of cliff development and retreat, when coastline turns somewhat smooth with the addition of some more material to its deposits in the offshore, a wave built terrace would develop in the front of wave cut terrace. Okay, as the erosion along the coast takes place, a good supply material becomes available to longshore currents and waves to deposit them as beaches along the shore and as bars, long ridges of sand and shingle parallel to the coast in the near shore. Okay, I will show you. Consider one second. It will come in the coming slides. Okay, you will see there. Okay. So bars are submerged features, and when bars show up above water, they are called as barrier bars. Barrier bar which gets keyed up to the headland of a bay is called a spit. Okay, when barrier bars and spits form at the mouth of the bay and block, it is called a lagoon form. Basically, when because of the sedimentary particles and sand and all that thing, for example, if you consider this as a coast. Okay, here what happens is, because of this thing, this is sea. Consider this as sea. Wait, I will show you properly. See, for example, consider this as sea and this as coast. Okay, This is land. Okay, and here what happens is, because of this sedimentary and all that, what will happen is these bars kind of things will form. Okay, and when these bars and barriers will form, one at a point of time, it will disconnect from the sea. Okay, it will disconnect from the sea, and this will completely cover this up. Okay, and here the remaining water which was there, which will fill up, which is called as lagoon basically. Okay. Okay, the lagoons would gradually get filled by sediments from the land, giving rise to coastal plain. Okay, so this is a lagoon basically. So because of that sand, this what do we call, bar basically, this gets formed up, and this thing becomes a lagoon basically. Okay, it gets cut down with the regular sea. Okay. Next comes the low sedimentary coast. Along low sedimentary coast, the rivers appear to extend their length by building coastal plains and deltas. The coastal line appears smooth with occasional incursions of water in form of lagoons and tidal creeks. The land slopes gently into the water. Marshes and swamps may abound along the coasts. Depositional features dominate. Previously, in the rocky thing, you saw it is much more into erosional thing. Okay, it is breaking down the thing. Here in the low sedimentary coast, there is a depositional feature. Okay, when waves break over a gently sloping sedimentary coast, the bottom sediments get churned and move readily, building bars, barriers, spits and lagoons. Okay, lagoons would eventually turn into swamp, which would subsequently turn into a coastal plain. Okay, the maintenance of these depositional features depend upon the steady supply of materials. Storm, tsunami waves cause drastic changes irrespective of supply of sediments. Large rivers which bring lot of sediments build deltas along low sedimentary coasts, which we saw in the previous class. Okay, next comes the cliffs, terraces, caves and stacks. So wave cut cliffs and terraces are two forms usually found where erosion is dominant shore process. Okay, where erosion is dominant. Almost all sea cliffs are steep and may range from a few meters to 30 meters or even more. See here, this is a cliff basically, and because of continuous erosion, okay, because of the continuous erosion, it forms a straight thing kind of a thing. Okay, a straight thing. And if you see the cliffs of Australia specifically, you will see they are very steep. Okay, very steep, like they will be something like this. Okay, something like this. Okay, at the foot of such cliffs there may be a flat or gently sloping platform. Okay, flat, see here. Okay, covered by rock debris derived from the sea cliff behind. Okay, such platforms occurring at elevations above the average height of waves is called as a wave cut terrace. Okay, the lashing of waves against the base of the cliff and the rock debris that get smashed against the cliff along with lashing waves create hollows, and these hollows get widened and deepened to form sea caves. Okay, see this thing hitting again and again and again, slowly this will eat this part out, and here a cave kind of a thing forms, which is called as the sea cave. Okay, the roof of caves collapse and sea cliffs recede further inland. Okay, retreat of the cliff may leave some remnants of rock standing isolated as small islands just off the shore. Such resistant masses of rock, originally parts of a cliff or hill, are called as sea stacks. Okay, see, this is a sea stack. Previously, because of hitting, this will be a single piece. Okay, single piece kind of a thing. But because of the, for example, if we consider, see, I will show you this. For example, this is a piece of cliff. Water is hitting again and again and again, which will form something like this. Okay, this is something fully covered. This will eat up here. Here there is nothing. Okay, which is called as a cave basically. Okay, and after this also, here this part will fall down because of tsunami or earthquake, or because of hitting of the waves only. This will break down, and because of its weight it will break down and go and settle down. Okay, and this thing which is alone left is known as sea stack. Okay, like all other features, sea stacks are also temporary. Okay, and eventually coastal hills and cliffs will disappear because of wave erosion, giving rise to narrow coastal plains. Okay, with onrush of deposits from over the land behind may get covered up by alluvium, or may get covered by shingle or sand to form a wide beach. Okay, what happens is everything, all the cliff at some or other time will completely erode whatever they are trying to say basically. And more or less remember one thing, either depositional, either erosional, or whatever geomorphic process happens doesn't happen alone. Okay, it combines with the different kind of things happening, basically earthquake, maybe some sort of tsunami and all. Okay, next we will see the depositional landforms, beaches and dunes. Okay, so what is sand dune basically? Sand dune is basically the settling of sand in a different fashion. You will see in the coming slides. Beaches are characteristics of shorelines that are dominated by deposition but may occur as patches along even the rugged shores. Okay, sediments making up the beaches comes up from land carried by the streams and rivers from the wave erosion. Okay, beaches are temporary features. The sandy beach, which appears so permanent, may be reduced to a very narrow strip of coarse pebbles in some other season. Okay, most of the beaches are made up of sand sized materials, very minute. Okay, beaches called shingle beaches contain excessively small pebbles and even cobbles. Specifically in these shingle beaches, the sand is not pretty visible, but rather pebbles are visible. See here, this is a shingle beach. Here the sand is not much visible. Okay, these pebbles are much visible here. Okay, just behind the beach, the sands lifted and winnowed from over the beach surfaces will be deposited as sand dunes. Sand dunes forming long ridges parallel to coastline are very common along low sedimentary coast. Here it is. Okay, these are coastal sand dunes basically. Okay. Next comes the bar, barriers and spits, which we read about the lagoon. No, we were reading about these itself. Okay, because of these the lagoon was forming. But what are these? We are going to see now. The ridge of sand and shingle formed in the sea in the offshore zone, lying approximately parallel to the coast, is called as an offshore bar. Here it is. Okay, this is more or less this thing. Okay, this is more or less parallel to the basically coast. Okay, and these are forms because of the sediments and sand basically. Okay, an offshore bar which is exposed due to further addition of sand is termed as barrier bar. Okay, so here it is. So it more or less cut downs, and because of this only the lagoon forms. Okay, the offshore bars and barriers commonly form across the mouth of a river or at the entrance of a bay. Sometimes such bars get keyed up to one end of the bay when they are called as spits. Spits may also develop attached to headlands or hills. Okay, the barriers, bars and spits are mouth of the bay gradually extend, leaving only a small opening of the bay into the sea, and the bay will eventually develop into a lagoon. Okay, the lagoon gets filled up gradually by sediment coming from the land or from the beach. Okay, and broad and wide coastal plain may develop replacing a lagoon. So more or less that lagoon will also get into a coastal plain kind of a thing because of the sediments getting settled there. Okay, see, this is a spit, this is a spit. Okay, and this is a bar. Okay, if we see a small bars kind of a thing, and this is a huge thing basically. This, consider this as an aerial view basically. Okay, so these small bars and barriers won't be visible, but this thing is lagoon basically because of here the bars, and here this offshore bar and barrier bar may have formed. Okay, winds. So wind is one of the two dominating agents in hot deserts. Okay, till now we were talking about the coastal region. Now it comes about the hot desert. Okay, Here, see here in the desert, the wind is very high basically because of the temperature flow. The wind will be very high. Okay, the desert floors get heated up too much and too quickly because of being dry and barren. The heated floors the heated floors heat up in the air directly above them and result in upward movement in the hot lighter air with turbulence, and any obstruction in its path sets up as eddies, whirlwinds, updrafts. And you have seen like this, this kind of air will move because of the heat basically. Okay, winds also move along the desert floors with great speed, and obstructions in their path create turbulence. Okay, of course there are storms winds which are very destructive. Storm wind looks something like this. Okay, within couple of minutes everything gets destroyed and completely fills up with the sand. People from the Rajasthan, the midpoint of Rajasthan, from the Thar desert will know. They call it Andhi in Hindi. Okay, once the Andhi comes, the house, even after closing the windows and all that, almost at least there will be sand of 1 to 2 centimeters on the floor. Okay, winds cause deflation. Okay, winds cause deflation, abrasion, and impact. This is not economy deflation, this is geography deflation. Deflation is basically movement of the particles, removal of the particles basically. Deflation includes lifting and removal of dust and smaller particles from the surface of rocks. In transportation process, sand and silt act as effective tools to abrade the land surface. The impact is simply sheer force of momentum which occurs when sand is blown into or against a rock surface. It is similar to sand blasting operation. The wind action creates a number of interesting erosional and depositional features in the desert. Okay, so in the desert there is very low rainfall. So more or less everything happens because of the heat and the wind basically. Okay, in fact many features of deserts owe their formation to mass wasting and running water as sheet floods. Though rain is scarce in desert, it comes down torrentially in a short period. Okay, the desert rocks devoid of vegetation, exposed to mechanical and chemical weathering process due to drastic diurnal temperature changes, decay faster, and torrential rain helping remove the weathered materials easily. Because in the daytime the temperature goes very high and very fastly. Okay, and in the same way in the night time the temperature dips also very low and very fastly. Okay, and because of that difference in the temperatures, automatically there will be mechanical changes. Obviously they will expand and contract, automatically it will break down. Okay, that means the weather debris in deserts is moved by not only wind but also by rain or sheet wash. Okay, the wind moves fine materials and general mass erosion is accomplished mainly through sheet or floods. Basically what is happening is this whatever the because of the abrasion, because of these sediments, basically the finer sediments will move by wind, but which are bigger sediments will move by with the water. Stream channels in desert areas are broad, smooth and indefinite and flow for a brief time after the rains. After some time they will get evaporated and they will form some kind of salt pans kind of a thing. Next we will see erosional landforms. Pediments. What is pediment basically? Landscape evolution in deserts is primarily concerned with the formation and extension of pediments. Gently inclined rocky floors, okay, close to the mountains, at their foot, with or without a thin cover of debris, are called as pediments. Okay, gently inclined rocky floors close to the mountains. Okay, such rocky floors form through the erosion of mountain front through a combination of lateral erosion. Okay, see here, this is a pediment basically. This is a mountain, and at this point, at this foot point of the mountain, there will be a small inclination. The hill is like this. There will be a small inclination at the foothill basically. somewhat like this. Okay. Pediplains. Erosion starts along steep margins of the landmass or steep sides of the tectonically controlled steep incision features over the landmass. Once pediments are formed with a steep wash slope followed by cliff or free face above it, the steep wash slope and free face retreats backwards. Okay, this method of erosion is termed as parallel retreat of slopes through back wasting. So, through parallel retreat of slopes, the pediments extend backwards at the expense of mountain front, and gradually the mountain gets reduced, leaving an Inselberg, which is a remnant of the mountain. Okay, which will form an Inselberg. That's how the high relief in the desert area is reduced to low featureless plains called as pediplains. Something like this. Okay. Playas. What is a playa? Playa basically in the desert, we will see. Plains are by far the most prominent landform in the desert. In basins, mountains and hills around, drainage is towards the center of the basin. Okay, and due to gradual deposition of sediments from basin margins, a near level plain forms at the center of the basin. Okay, in times of sufficient water, this plain is covered by shallow water body. Okay, this is for couple of days only or couple of months only. Such type of shallow lakes are called as playas, where water is retained only for short duration. You may have read about the oasis. Oasis is for a longer duration, or maybe there are a couple of oases which are permanent. But playas are just for a couple of days, for a very short duration. Okay, and due to the evaporation, and quite often the playas contain good deposition of salts, because different kind of salts get deposited. After the evaporation, only salt flats will be left, which are called as alkali flats. Okay, which does look like this. Okay, it does look like some salt desert kind of a thing, that location. Okay, so you see this is a pediment, this okay, and this is Inselberg. Basically, Inselberg is an island mountain, okay, of resistant rock rising from the softer, more easily eroded rocks of the plain. Okay, and this is an oasis, and this is a salt playa here. Okay, basically when there was water and it evaporated and it formed into that thing. Okay, alluvial fan, which we read about in the last class. Okay, next we will see about the Burchens or crescent dunes, what kind of desert dunes are there. Okay, so deflation hollows and caves. Basically deflation is because of the erosion, because of the wind. Basically the fragments or sediments of the rock gets cut down. Okay, that thing forms a cave kind of a thing. Okay, weathered mantle from over the rocks or bare soil gets blown out by persistent movement of wind current in one direction. This process may create shallow depression called as deflation hollows. Deflation also creates numerous small pits or cavities over rock surfaces. The rock faces suffer impact and abrasion of wind-borne sand, and first shallow depression called blowouts are created. And some of the blowouts become deeper and wider, fit to be called as caves. See here, this happens because of the wind only. Okay, and this is called as the cave. Okay, next comes the mushroom, table and pedestal rocks. Couple of rocks, because of the situation, because of different kind of erosion, a small piece of rock will be left in the top, and a small pillar kind of a thing will be left underneath. Okay, this is called as a mushroom rock or a table rock. Okay, many rock outcrops in the desert, easily susceptible to wind deflation and abrasion, are worn out quickly, leaving some remnants of resistant rocks polished beautifully in the shape of mushroom, with a slender stalk and a broad and rounded pear-shaped cap above. Sometimes the top surface is broad like a tabletop, flat. Okay, that's why it is called a table. Okay, and quite often the remnants stand out like a pedestals. This is one of the example. Okay, because of the sand plus wind and other sediments. What happens is, when it hits, if consider this as a huge rock, when it is hitting in this rock, this thing is somewhat hard rock, and the top layer was a soft rock. This soft rock will start getting erosion. Okay, and that soft rock will remove after some time, and this thing looks much more polished and very looks nice actually. Okay. Next, we will see about the depositional landforms. Wind is a good sorting agent. Depending upon the velocity of wind, different sizes of grains are moved along the floors by rolling or saltation and carried in suspension, and in this process of transportation itself the material gets sorted. Okay, when the wind slows or begins to die down, depending upon the size of grains and the critical velocities, the grains will begin to settle. Okay, till now we have seen in this, here the grains starts getting removed, right? And when that wind gets slower, automatically that grains will start settling up, right? And if the it is huge, it will settle up very early. If it is very finer particles, they will settle after a later stage. Okay, so in the depositional landform made by the wind, good sorting of grains can be found. Okay, since wind is there everywhere, and wherever there is a good source of sand and with constant wind directions, depositional feature in arid regions can develop anywhere. Okay, so we will see sand dunes now. Dry, hot deserts are good places for sand dune formation. Okay, sand dunes are basically this रेत के टिब्बे, which we call in Hindi. Okay, obstacles to initiate dune formation are equally important. So obstacles are much more important. There can be great variety of dune forms. Okay, crescent shaped dunes called as barchans. Okay, with the points or wings directed away from the wind direction. Okay, that is downwind, form where the wind direction is constant and moderate, and where the original surface over which sand is moving almost same. Okay, here see, this is somewhat, okay, this kind of a thing. Okay, you see here, okay, there is a crescent kind of a thing forming over here. Okay, the dune is moving this side. Okay, this is called as a barchan dune. Okay, and this is the sand will be flowing because of the steep here, so this is called as sand avalanche. Okay, parabolic dunes form when sandy surfaces are partially covered with vegetation. Okay, when there is some sort of vegetation on the sandy surface, it forms a kind of parabolic dune. That means parabolic dunes are reversed barchans. Okay, parabolic dunes are reversed barchans with the wind direction being the same. Okay, because of the vegetation, it changes the direction of the crescent basically. Okay, Saif is similar to barchan with a small difference. Saif has only one wing or point. This happens when there is a shift in wind conditions. The lone wing of Saifs can grow very long and high. Okay, longitudinal dunes form when supply of sand is poor and wind direction is constant. Okay, supply of sand is poor but wind direction is same. Okay, they appear as long ridges of considerable length but low in height. Okay, they are low in height but great in length. Okay, transverse dunes are aligned perpendicular to the wind direction. Perpendicular to the wind direction. If the wind direction is here, it will be in this direction. Okay. These dunes form when the wind direction is constant and the source of sand is an elongated feature at right angles to the wind direction. You will see in the coming. See here, this is a transverse dune. Okay. Because of the wind direction is in this way and sand is constantly available, it will form something like this. Okay, and longitudinal dune, okay, which is the linear dunes basically. Okay, they may be very long and low in height. When sand is plenty, quite often the regular shaped dunes coalesce and lose their individual characteristics. Most of the dunes in the desert shift and a few of them will get stabilized, especially near human habitations. Okay, so these are barchan dunes. And there are a lot of dunes which are not discussed here, like sand dunes and transverse dunes we discussed. This is parabolic dune which we read. See, basically this is Barchan dune, right? The Barchan is in this way, and when the vegetation is there, because of the vegetation, the wind is in the same direction only, but because of the vegetation it will form into this thing, okay, which is known as parabolic dunes. Okay, so that's all. I guess you will like the video. Okay, if the video is useful, please let us know by commenting, and please share it with your friends. And if you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the bell icon to get regular updates. And please reach us on WhatsApp and do let us know how are you feeling these videos. Are you liking the videos, or if you want any sort of changes? And also you can get information regarding the test series and any regular updates on the UPSC. Okay, and that's all for today. We will continue with the 8th chapter. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.